Hey everyone, I just wanted to give an example of a company that I just put in the too hard file. Bought a few shares just to keep an eye on it over the next year or two. But sometimes when you're looking at very small companies, um, it's very hard to get comfortable with it because there's not a lot of information out there. And I came across this interesting company, and this isn't a recommendation to buy or sell. And if I had more viewers, I probably wouldn't even mention it. But since there's only 120 subscribers, I don't think there's any chance of me being accused of pumping the stock. And I do plan on holding it for, I don't know, like another year or so and see how it does. And I only have a few shares of it, not anything to make a difference in my life anyway. Just a few so that I see it when I log in, and I keep track of it. If I see something in the news or anything like that. But anyway, not a recommendation to buy or sell. Just an example of just going through the process. So like and subscribe, and then we'll work through this together. So here is the company, and it's called Taylor Devices. As you can see, it's a $66 million market cap company. But what you'll notice about it is that on some metrics, it looks pretty cheap. It doesn't have any debt, and it's taking a while to load here. It's got some cash on the balance sheet. So if you look at, say, what would I pay for the whole company? Well, it's trading, the whole thing is trading for 66 million now. But if you subtract out the cash, it's trading whole company. And the trailing PE is 11 and a half, which is not terrible. Less than 2 times sales also looks good. EV to EBITDA, usually I want to see something less than 10 here, and this is 6. So that looks pretty good too. And the return on equity is okay. The operating margin and profit margin is interesting. So this is a weird little company. It makes these devices. Let me pull something up. See if I can find a picture of this. It makes involved with shock absorption. So this has been around since he was the mad scientist inventor, and he did a lot of work for NASA, and then his company got involved in aerospace, and there's stuff that they did for the space shuttle, and these shock and movement absorber applications where you would use this on cranes and other things. And let's see. And then about 6 years ago, they started making these things, which are looks like giant shock absorbers, and you put them in buildings to help you protect it from an earthquake. What's really interesting about this is kind of a growth driver. So it went from this being something that they hadn't done at all before of their business. So, the industrial and aerospace stuff, the aerospace is the stuff they did for NASA and the Pentagon, and the industrial, as I said, is these they've been doing that since the 60s, but this they've been doing for 6 years, and it's already half of their business. What don't I like about it? Like that seems like all really nice stuff, but when I went through their 10K, incredibly short, and usually the 10K has more stuff for you to look at and think about, but this was very short. It's only 40 pages. They mentioned that they have competitors, but they didn't tell you who they are. Just some Googling, I found out for the industrial stuff, Monroe, the company with shock absorbers, and ITT, International Telephone and Telegraph, they make stuff like this. A company that's private, I can't remember the name, but it's got a Japanese name. They do this also. So, this part of the business looks like it's higher growth than the rest of the business, and, might be something worth thinking about, especially since, as I said, it went from nothing to half their business in 6 years. And this company is trading for about 50 million when you take out the cash. And it seems to be growing, but not a lot of information out there about this company. You sort of don't even know who their competitors are. How good is their brand versus other competitors? I would think if you were putting something like this in your building, where you would get some kind of discount on your insurance, or maybe even self-insure, so that you wouldn't have to pay faith that you're dealing with a good company. And I think the fact that they've worked for NASA, that's a big help. So, if you or I started a company that made these, I don't think that somebody would entrust their building that they paid hundreds of millions to Device. But again, you don't really have any clarity as to who their competitors are, because it's not discussed in the 10K. They mentioned that they do have them, but don't tell you who they are. And just doing some deep digging, I found out that there was some dispute with and there's a big proxy fight, and the dad was kicked out, and it was very ugly. And as part of that, maybe to prevent that in the future, there's a poison pill that's mentioned in the 10K, so it's in where they can dilute you. So, even though you think, if you think this is undervalued, there's not likely that somebody will buy a position and force management out, or buy a big position and try to take it over, and have the shareholders vote on it, because you have this anti-dilution thing, which is something you generally. And another thing I saw that I was crazy about, it had an accountant that I never heard of, and that's another red flag. You just want to see a big accounting firm, and it's not the death knell, but sometimes when you see a company that gets in trouble, they didn't have a very big accountant, and the accountant they used were glad to get the business. So I would rather see also when they bid out these projects and they deliver these giant shock absorbers, or where they do for the aerospace and industrial industry. They get these contracts, they perform their work, and in the discussion of the accounting treatment, the accountants mentioned that they use a percentage of completion accounting, and that's something you generally will be aware of. I wouldn't say it's a huge red for me. I think it was Chicago Bridge and Iron that got into trouble with that a few years ago, because if you're working on a big project and you can for purposes of earnings, declare when you've completed a certain percentage of something. And if it's $1 million project and you say I've completed 30%, I can declare 300,000 in revenue instead of 60%. It's hard to tell, especially between like 80 and 90, or something like that. And so it is something that is susceptible to budget numbers, not necessarily saying that will happen, but it's something to keep in mind. And you've got the poison pill provision, and the insiders, a little bit of stock, but you generally like to see with a little company like this, that insiders are buying a lot, they know something you don't, and then you can sort of follow them in. But it looks like a really interesting industry, and things that are holding me back. So that's why I just bought a few shares just to keep an eye on it. And after a year or two, maybe I'll reassess. Maybe I can go to the annual meeting and ask questions. But as of now, it's something that you should be aware of, because if I mentioned that they do work for NASA, and maybe that helps with their moat and being able to pitch themselves. But Intrepid Potash, which I did a video on the other day, Intrepid Potash has a company that they make potash, fine, but they also have a water company, because they have these water rights and they sell them to frackers. And so it's a moat, because where they operate is in the desert, and there's not a lot of people with water rights in the desert. So that's a great advantage. But with something engineering like this, where you have somebody that bids this out, these guys are upstate New York, put in the same bid. So and compete for this business, since you sort of don't know where business for this stuff, for the building structural stuff, went from I believe it was like 20% to 12% in Asia. So they do have an Asian competitor. I don't know who it is, but it seems to be that they're doing pretty well. And so if Asia Business Wing sells overseas, but somebody either has a reputation overseas and is getting their Asian business, or there's some other reason that they're not getting that Asian business. So, like I said, there's always a problem with anything if you dig deep enough. But this was an interesting one to analyze, and I think for now it's in the too hard pile, but it seems to be well run. They've had 3 CEOs, the founder, son, and now this don't look like something that anyone can get into, because they're something that if it fails, the damage is severe. So you I'm sure would want to use a trusted player in the industry, but again, I don't know who their competitors are, and if somebody bigger wanted to swallow these guys up, they wouldn't be able to, because of this poison pill provision that they've opted. And when I and I did find a couple of interviews. It wasn't even online where you could find it. You had to go through their website and dig. So I did a lot of work on this, and I figured I'd share it so you can sort of see the process that you go through. But for now, I think this is in the too hard pile, and I've got to decide if I want to add more, subscribe, and we'll see you next time.